So, good afternoon, distinguished guests and participants. Thank you for joining us today for EnvisAGE 2021, an online symposium jointly organized by the National Library Board and the Singapore University of Social Sciences, SUSS. My name is Mastura from the National Library Board, and I'll be your MC for this afternoon's session. So, today's topic is on virtual reality tourism for seniors. As COVID-19 has disrupted international travel plans, many countries such as Germany, Ireland, and the Maldives have turned to virtual reality, VR, as an alternative form of travel. So our speaker for today will share on how virtual reality tourism is being adopted by countries to keep prospective visitors interested, rebuild consumer confidence, as well as prepare for the long road to recovery. I hope you're ready to take a virtual trip around the world with us, and you can get some inspiration for eventual real-world travel through this immersive and interactive workshop. So before we begin, a gentle reminder that this is a recorded session. I'd also like to encourage you to use your headphones for better audio quality. In addition, if you have any questions, please feel free to make use of the Q&A button. So to do so, if you'd like to ask a question, so please click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Looks like this, the two speech bubbles, the Q&A text right there. So click on this icon and the screen will pop up on your screen as well. So type your question in the chat box as well, and you can either send it anonymously or you can send it as yourself as well. Okay. So our moderator for today is Ms. Dean Ng, the SUSS Gerontology alumna, transformational health coach and co-founder of the Affirmative People and the Facilitators Project. So Ms. Dean, please.
Thank you, Master Ron. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon to you. Today, we are privileged to have Jonathan join us amidst his busy schedule. Jonathan Fu is a veteran of the media, technology, and education industries. He has been in the business of filmmaking and TV production for almost 30 years. Today, he continues to bridge both the media and education industries as CEO of View Networks and also as an associate faculty and principal investigator at SUSS. Thank you, John, and over to you, please.
Thank you, Dean. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to now just share my slides. Okay. Good afternoon. So we are here today to talk about virtual reality tourism. In the senior sector, I suppose, but also really in the larger picture of the situation of currently the COVID environment, where a lot of us who used to find it very easy to travel are now finding ourselves not only just not traveling, but finding ourselves very often at home. And the only really exposure or connection to the rest of the world is through a session like Zoom, for example. So we want to look at now what are the possibilities that technology has offered us to really try to continue experiencing this this concept of travel and looking at other places in the world. But first of all, let's discuss quickly about the technology. What is VR? Okay, well, VR simply, based on the definition, is really a computer technology, and its purpose is to replicate an environment. So it brings the reality, right, reproduces reality into a simulation that you're able to experience it using devices such as mobile phones, tablets, PCs, or other types of smart devices. Now you hear a lot of terms in the market. You'll hear XR, VR, AR, MR, and many Rs. And all of these are actually very confusing, but they're part of what we call the XR spectrum. It's all within the same spectrum. On one end, you have the real world, and on the other end, you have total virtual reality where the entire environment is created. And in between, you have augmented reality, augmented virtuality, mixed reality. The differences are having, for example, graphically created elements on the real environment, or you could have real elements like people put into a virtual environment. So these are basically all part of the same spectrum about mixing and recreating elements that give us a sense of what reality could be or is not, but we see it as reality. And why do we do that? Well, we do that so that we can be immersed and we can have engaging experiences to different types of environment. We call them, for example, special access spaces that they're too far away or that we cannot access, which right now means the rest of the world. Places that are too dangerous to access. For example, we want to access the edge of a volcano and we want to look down into it. Scientists can go there with special arrangements, but the average person cannot. But through VR, we could perhaps visit those places. There is also the opportunity, which we call digital access, access into worlds that don't exist or worlds that are impossible for us to get to. For example, space or creating a black hole and trying to say, how would it feel like going into a black hole in space? So VR really offers us the opportunity from recreating what we know that we cannot access to what we don't even know, and we are trying to kind of create different worlds that we want to experience. But what it is that it gives us the opportunity to really move into a new space immersively and be able to almost forget the actual world we're in now and transport ourselves into this new virtual space. Let me talk just very quickly a little bit about the theories, why VR works in this space for us. Now, some of the three key theories. First one is immersion. And really what it is that VR enables the audience to be completely surrounded by both visual as well as sound. And it creates a realistic environment, and it makes you believe that you are inside an actual space to the point that you begin to respond to it. So we are creating an environment, whether it is graphically or whether it's a video or photograph, but it starts to put you inside. You are no longer just watching TV like an observer. So I tell my students a lot of the time, the difference of television, normal TV, and VR is on TV, you are an observer. You're watching it from a distance. You're outside the reality. The reality is happening inside the box or a little screen. And there's basically a distance between you and what the story is going on. But when you go into VR, you have this idea called immersion, and you are now immersed in the space. We remove that barrier and that line. You're no longer just an observer, but you are now a participant. So when you stand inside the space and you look to your left, you look to your right, you look up, you look down, you are inside the scene, you're inside the situation, and you're as good as being there. So that immersion is one of what we call the benefits of this technology that allows you to start to forget the world that you're in and allows you to start to respond to this new virtual world. So the first theory is immersion. The second theory is embodiment, and embodiment is a different level of VR. Now, it is the perception that a person is physically interacting with a virtual environment. You don't only believe you're in the space, you start to behave as if you're in the space. Now, you would commonly see this in some of the softwares and games that you're playing with avatars, right? You see a body, you look down, and you see that you have a body, you see that you have legs, you have arms coming out. And when you see this element that you're actually controlling movement in the space, you're basically getting a sense of embodiment. You're owning the body as a sense of agency. This is now the most powerful element in VR as it starts to trick your senses into thinking that you are actually in the environment and able to behave in the environment. When you're talking about VR content, this is also the type of content that starts to, where the characters within the VR don't only walk past you, they actually start to respond to you. They may speak to you, your hands and legs, you may be able to touch them, you might be able to move and do selections. And this level of embodiment starts to allow you to exist, not just be a viewer, but you exist within this space and you actually have a physical presence in this virtual world. So we're taking you really away from your real world into this virtual space now. And then the third theory is the theory of presence. And this is the feeling of now you exist within the environment. This is the point where you now forget about technology, you forget that you're using equipment, and then you begin to react as if every stimulation within this space is real, and you begin to think this is your actual world. And this is the point where you forget that it's a computer. You end up staying in this space for half an hour, 1 hour, and I've done that before. I've gone into the virtual space, for an hour, and you start to respond thinking you're there, right? From an educator's perspective, this is actually the ideal moment where whatever I'm teaching you within this space or whatever you're experiencing in this space is going to be the type of content or the type of information that you're going to be able to learn and be able to transfer back to reality when you do come back out from the virtual space. So presence is really a mindset, a point where you've reached the zone and where you have really forgotten, or you really, don't even realize that you are now using technology. So when you put all these three theories together, it shows you the power of the technology and how, and the reason that it can actually very successfully and effectively replace real life experiences. And I would say, it is the second best thing to actually doing things. If you can do things, of course, it's the best way to learn. But very often we can't. And now with tourism, it's something that we're limited to. So using VR is definitely going to be one way that we can help immerse you in that space and give you an experience as if you are traveling in those environments. So a lot of tourism bodies, a lot of countries are now trying to look into ways that they can offer virtual tourism in order to continue to promote their country. And hopefully the idea is give a good experience virtually so that when eventually the traveling resumes, people can say, I want to see it in real life now. And then they can see it as part of that experience process. Now, what are the available technologies associated with VR? So there are a whole spectrum of them, and each of them has different experiences. Many people have said we've experienced VR, but it can be VR experience on your mobile phone. It can be VR experience on a proper VR headset. There are different levels again. Now, to truly be immersed, and we talk about an immersive technology, you have to basically wear a headset. And when you wear a headset, you basically, like this gentleman on the picture here, you actually are blocking off the visual stimulants of the world. You wear a headset, you block off also the sound, and then you basically are now immersed in this virtual space. So to truly enjoy VR, you should wear a headset. But of course, you don't always have access to these, and you can still watch VR content as we will today, using whether it's your mobile phone, your tablet, or your PC, right? You just need to have access today to a device that can get a QR code, and I'll share with you some content on your mobile devices. Now, just to give you a bit of background, there are two types of VR that we're going to talk about. The first is 3 DoF and second is 6 DoF. Now, basically, DoF means degrees of freedom. So 3 degrees of freedom really means a person can stand or sit, turn left, turn right, look up and look down. And the environment, or at least when you look at these movements, the environment will follow, right? So it'll be like real life, but except that you're standing or you're sitting. 6 DoF means I can even move my body forward, backwards, left, and right. So it becomes what we call a room-based environment. So again, depends on which technologies we use and why you're trying to use these technologies. Some will be 3 DoF and some will be 6 DoF. Of course, you need higher end equipment if you want to do the room-based 6 degrees of freedom. So these are some of the tools that are available in the market today. The most simple would be your Google Cardboard, or there are a lot of other what we call cardboard type devices where they are meant for your mobile phones to go into. So the idea is that using applications like even YouTube VR, you can actually download videos, click it onto VR, and then it will create a left eye and a right eye image. You put them into these devices and you put them over your head, and you can actually see a stereoscopic image, and you can actually turn your head left and right, up and down. Okay. Similarly, we'll do that with a mobile phone or your tablet, but instead of putting it to your eyes, we can just hold it in front of you, and later you can just move it left and right, up and down, and you'll realize that you can actually move, look around in that space, everything from the sky to the floor to behind you. Okay, and that's the idea of VR 360, is that where we capture images of pictures or videos, they're not just a photo in front of you, they're the entire environment, they're the entire 360. So when you experience it, you actually go inside, you're almost inside a photo or inside a video, and you can experience it all around you. Pico G2 is a standalone system. It's a much better system. It's with the computer chip built in. So these are the devices you would use for 3 degrees of freedom. For the room-based 6 degrees of freedom, more for things like interaction, learning how to use machines, perhaps doing certain type of corporate training, you might use the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive. These devices, you need to attach them to a pretty strong computer in order to run them. Okay, and these are more for kind of a high-end training activities, less for tourism. Tourism will be using 3 DOF equipment. And of course, the current next wave we're talking about is wireless 6 degrees of freedom. We have the Oculus Quest 1 and 2, as well as the Pico Neo 2. Now they've just launched 3. These are going to be the new standards where you can experience 6 degrees of freedom without a cable attached to you. The Quest set a new price standard by being $299 US and offering 6 degrees of freedom. So they've actually, Oculus, which belongs to Facebook, has actually brought the price level down, where we are now at the point where things are affordable. And I think this is what's going to make the difference. With affordable equipment and technology, then we're going to start to see a lot more content available, and it becomes something that anybody is going to be able to experience. But the most important is we're going to be doing it today with just your mobile phone or tablets that you have on you. Okay, so let's now move into the actual experiences itself. We're going to go on VR destinations. We're going to have different types of destinations today. I'm going to share with you some videos, as well as there's some also basically photosphere journey. So there are different ways of actually experiencing different countries virtually on your devices. So now, if you can you take your mobile phones, whether they are iPhone, Android, or whatever they are, make sure you have a QR code reader. It can just be a camera, right, that has a QR code reader. We're going to let you scan a QR code. And what you're going to do is when you scan it, it's going to ask you to open it, and you open the file in YouTube. I've put up all my films into a private YouTube channel. So if you scan it, open it in the YouTube app itself, okay? Then you basically turn the phone from a vertical, right, portrait to landscape, and let it adjust. And then when you start moving around, you'll realize that you can actually move the image. You can go look left, you can look right, up and down. And I want you to experience it. For those who don't have it, I'm also going to open whatever I'm showing you on the share screen so that you can also watch it together when other people are looking at it on their mobile. Okay, so the first one, we're going to go to Australia. We're going to go into a waterfall, and we're just going to look at this environment. Okay, so let's scan now the QR code, my little dinosaur there. And if you can scan it, open it in YouTube, the app, open it in the app. Sometimes it will just say open it within the web browser. We don't want that. Open it within the YouTube app itself, and then it will open up, and then you'll start to hear and see the waterfall. Okay. Okay, we got that time to scan. Okay, now I'm going to share that on screen as well. Okay, so what you'll notice is I'm going to move my screen using my mouse. I'm going to click and pull, and I can look around. I can move around, and I can look up to the waterfall where the sky is. Or I'm going to turn around and look behind the waterfall. And you'll realize that I'm actually inside a cave. You see all the handprints on the wall? And these are actually the handprints of the Aborigines. This is Aboriginal art, right? In the caves behind the waterfall. So if you look behind you, you'll see that. If not, I'm going to go back to the waterfall. So in the 360 environment, you can really have the freedom to turn left, turn right, move around. Besides the audio, the picture, the audio is just as important. It's about the whole idea of having the entire experience of audio and visual, and imagining that you are really in the space itself. Okay, if you're only seeing my face, it is you are looking at speaker view. You don't want to watch, just look at gallery view. It should open up my slides when I share. This screen should be shared with you. Okay. Okay, hang on. Okay, so now we're going to go to a different place. Okay, so now when I showed you a bit of water, what we do is some of these scenes that you have seen me show you, we also use it sometimes for different types of meditation. We have actually VR to help people reduce their anxiety. So sometimes we use visuals like that in forests, in waterfalls. We add some music to it, and it helps people relax. So it's not just about visiting. I think there's also a therapeutic element to some of these visuals as well. The next visual you're seeing here is as Mallorca. It's in Spain. So if you scan it now, we'll be at the top of the cliffs, looking down into the nice blue oceans. Okay, so you guys scan it.
John, I think you need to turn off the optimization mode because there's something blocking the QR. On your screen, when you share screen, there's an optimization checkbox. Can you uncheck that? Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so okay, if you can scan this, I'm going to bring it on the screen shortly. Okay. So this is in Mallorca. So looking down onto the blue ocean below. So those of you who are a little bit afraid of heights, this can be a little bit unsettling. I showed this to a couple of people, and then there's this lady who nearly fell off the chair watching it. She was screaming away. So it's it's a nice experience, especially if you like big open spaces. So if you notice, I am panning it right from the side. I'm on the edge of the water. If you want to open it in your devices, you can look left and right, and you can basically control where you are looking at. right.
I suspect, John, every time you load, you got to check, make sure the optimization screen is unchecked.
Yeah, I realized that. I'm going
Yeah.
to do that again.
Thanks.
Yeah, I need it for the video. So yeah, I will toggle back and forth, I guess. Do you see my full screen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have to toggle back and forth. Okay, so that was Mallorca. Next one will be we're going to the Tasmania. Okay, we're going to Australia, the Rainforest waterfall oasis. This is a very nice shot. So you guys can scan it. The only thing about the feedback I got from some people who watch these very nice waterfalls, water on VR is after a while they want to go to the toilet. It's so real, right? Because they feel the water, they see the water, then they after a while excuse me, I need to go to the loo. I think it's a lot of the reality. I think what happens is it really brings you into that space. I'm talking over it now, but sometimes I think it's nicer if I don't speak and you just sit there and enjoy the moment of, being in that space. Okay, I'm going to bring you there now. The picture is small. I think once you're on YouTube, tilt the camera, your mobile phone into landscape, and the picture should open to a full screen. If not, you can always do the full screen button on the bottom right hand side. Okay, now I bring you to the next. Let's see. This is the Tasmanian rainforest. Because it's YouTube, sometimes it takes a while for the quality to catch up. It has to load up a little bit. But all these clips are in 4K, so they should be pretty high resolution. So I'm going to tilt up and look up. Beautiful.
And I noticed you can actually pinch it to zoom in and zoom out, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can zoom in and zoom out if you're on your mobile phone or you're on your tablet. So look around, look behind you. The best experience is sit on a chair that can turn, and you can move around and look at the images. Look behind, see anything behind us? Nothing behind us. You can almost feel the water in your face, and temperature dropping around you. Very effective with the sound as well. Some of the things that you're looking at are obviously things that we shoot quite professionally. But actually, we find that where instead of people just taking photos on their holidays, then you can actually be a part of this process and film your holidays in VR and share with other people as well. So it's not just a process of experiencing it. You can share your personal experiences with other people as well. Okay, this is the Lofoten Islands. It's a view from rain. This is in Norway. When we're looking down at the Lofoten Islands, it's a very, very pretty view. You can scan this. You can see on the right hand side people climbing up the hill. they built basically a whole stone staircase all the way from the ground level all the way up 2,000 meters or so. And it's become one of very popular places for tourists to visit. But the sky is so clear, the water is amazingly clear. Obviously, very cold place, right? So if you can scan it, and I'll also bring you there shortly. This one you can, yeah, this one is it's another nice hilltop view. 360 views are supported that's why they're not supported if you're looking at the browser. So you want to play back within the YouTube app itself. So don't play browser. That's why I mentioned just now. Don't open it. Just don't open it and it will say it's not supported. You need to click and open it within the YouTube app itself. And then within the YouTube app, it supports 360 views. Okay? So this is okay. Again, if you want to adjust, you'll see on my bottom right, you can adjust. Okay, this you can auto to 2K, which is actually a 4K playback. Then you get a sharper image. So the thing with YouTube is depending on your connection, it might connect at the lower resolution. Then make sure you go to settings and you get the highest resolution. In VR, most of our shots are in 4K at the very least. Okay, a lot of them are shot in 8K. It has to be high resolution. Now you listen, you hear the wind going by. So I'm going to look to the right and you'll see people coming up the stone stairs. So all these paths actually go all the way up, but all the way down into the town as well. Beautiful. So the sound you hear is the wind, which is very strong. And it's a very cold wind. You see how clear the water is? You can see really down to below to the bottom. All right. So the next view we have is in the forest. We do a lot of these forest shots, and we talked about just now meditation. I've been working on some projects where we work with certain people who are very stressed, and the idea is to give them content that they can help them to relax. Even healthcare workers, for example. So we use some of these forest type of environments to bring you out from the busy environment that you're in and put you into a space, where you look at the trees, you hear the leaves move, and it helps you relax. So this is inside a German forest in autumn. So when we were doing a lot of these shoots, we also shoot the forest or the jungles in Singapore, and you realize there is a difference between a forest and a jungle. The trees are very different. So when you look at something like tropical jungle versus European forest, very different type of vegetation. Even the colors are very, very different, and the insect sounds are very, very different. So the ones that we've shot in Asia, you hear a lot of these chirping crickets and whatnot. Okay, so this is the German forest. Have a look at this. you hear the birds, all of those are part of the experience. So if you have a headset on, you're able to really immerse yourself in this space and take yourself away from the street sounds or in Dean's case, the construction from next door. There's actually a Japanese researcher who's actually made it his personal vision to shoot all around Japan, footage in 360 like that, just to share with the seniors. Because a lot of the seniors that he works with aren't able to travel in nursing homes, for example. So he films as much as he can just to share that content of Japan with all the people who cannot travel. So actually that's a very nice project that he's working on. Okay, the next project was something that I shot just before the COVID situation. This was done in January 2020. And in January 2020, I made a trip to India. And this is my first trip to Chennai. I had been to Mumbai before on business, and it was a really messy, busy, and I got sick for 2 weeks, and I had fever and food poisoning, and it was really a bad experience. But when I went to Chennai and I spent about a week there on work, and I went around for a couple of days to shoot in 360, I actually enjoyed it very much, and it was just not what I expected. So if you guys scan this, we made this into a short 6-minute little mini documentary. But really, the scenes of Chennai surprised me. It wasn't so much like the India I thought it was. It reminded me more of Malaysia, kind of, in the 70s or so. Okay, so have a look at this. It's a full 6-minute documentary piece. I'll play the piece over the screen now as well, but I'll try not to move so much.
Welcome to Chennai, located in the state of Tamil Nadu, India. We are here in the Mylapore
Sorry, I'm just gonna make sure.
district, home to the Kapalishwara temple, one of the most prominent Hindu temples in India dedicated to Lord Shiva. A remarkable example of Dravidian architecture, the structure you see in front of you is more than 300 years old. However, the temple itself is much older and can be dated back to sometime in the 7th century, the original structure having been destroyed by the Portuguese.
If you look under the bush, I'm standing under the tree over there.
We now find ourselves next to the Sandthome Church, also known as the St. Thomas Cathedral Basilica and National Shrine of St. Thomas. It is a Roman Catholic minor basilica, having first been built in the 16th century by Portuguese explorers, and then rebuilt in 1896 by the British in the Neo-Gothic style. The church was built over the tomb of St. Thomas, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, and is one of only 3 known churches around the world to be built upon the tomb of an apostle.
Jeremy? You got frozen.
Yeah, I think John might be frozen.
Oops. Looks like we lost John for a little while. Got caught to India. Yeah, let's try and get him back. And while our team try to bring him back from Chennai, let me just take a look at some of the Q&As and see whether if I can help with any of them. So yeah, I saw, okay, some people are really concerned about whether the seniors, would they feel isolated from the real life environment? So I guess in terms of technology, it probably depends on how the technology itself depends on how it's being used. And if the VR is about all the techie stuff that the seniors are not familiar with, then yes, it is likely that they may get disoriented. Everything is too science fiction. So what we're trying to do now based on feedback, like when John's team is working with the various nursing homes and when they do reminiscence studies, is really to capture the memories of seniors, what it was like decades back when they were much younger, and create it into an environment so that it feels as if they could to go back and relive the experience again. And of course, at the same time, in terms of modern day environment, to make it as realistic as possible. So like, for example, in this case, the tourism part where seniors can travel to, let's say, for example, I've spoken to some seniors who are wheelchair bound and they really don't have the means to travel. And some of them were sharing with me that they wish they could go to, say, they would like to go up to the Great Wall of China, but they are in their 80s, and the chances of them traveling and going all the way up the wall is really very slim. So this is when this VR technology is able to come in and give them an experience of what they could have done, even though physically they are not there. So yes, there are certain limitations with the technology is still evolving, but that's where imaginations comes in, and that's where all our feedbacks can come in to help support and hopefully make it better and more realistic for seniors now and for the future seniors. Yeah. So yes, I heard John is traveling back to us soon, so give him a few more minutes. He's in a virtual plane. Later we can ask him what was his traveling experience like. So for those of you, did you all manage to use right, John, welcome back. Yes, you can watch this on your own. But later on, I'll get John to
Hi, sorry, see,
explain even more.
sorry,
Right,
see, technology does do that. Sorry, I hung, but I'm back.
No worries, no worries. You understood. You got stuck here. Glad you're back.
So that was Chennai. Yeah, but I won't play it again, but I think all of you got to watch it. You can scan it again here. Wait, let me just quickly share again for those who might have missed it. It was a very interesting experience in Chennai. To be able to experience it. Like even this photo, you look at it, it doesn't look like Chennai. It looks like somewhere in Iraq or Middle East. But it was very nice. It was very quiet. food was great, and it was very, very different from my experience in Mumbai, for example. Okay, so this is another piece I want to show you is the next one, which is Japan. Now, this was a project done by one of my students. I teach a VR filmmaking class at SUSS as well. And this student happened to be going on a holiday. This is pre-COVID. And he went on a holiday right in the middle of term. And I was wondering, why would you do something like that and skip my class, right? And then basically because it was cherry blossom. So you only have that 2-week window, right? So he didn't care whether there was any class, he just went anyway. So the funny part about this is when he came back, I said, hey, your shots were very interesting, but how come some of the placements were a bit weird? Because he went out there, he planned to shoot, he went on location, he left the hotel, then he realized he forgot to bring his tripod. So you'll realize that a lot of his VR is filmed from putting cameras on very strange spaces and even on the floor, for example, but it produces some interesting shots. Visuals are not as high quality because he was using a smaller camera, but this was still what my student did, and it's what anybody can do. If you have a VR camera, you can actually go on your holidays, shoot it, and you can share it. So it's a new type of sharing. I feel it's more than just, hey, check out my photos. But I went to this place, I experienced it, I walked through the cherry blossoms. Would you like to walk through the cherry blossoms as well? And that's kind of the nice part of VR tourism, is that you can share not just a photo, but you can share an experience as well. So scan this QR code, and in the meantime, I will also bring you there.
Tokyo, the capital of Japan, has a deep-rooted traditional heritage that sits comfortably in the modern city. One of Japan's most important Shinto shrines, Meiji Jingu, opens daily not by specific hours, but from sunrise to sunset. Here are the prayers left by the visitors. Another temple is the Sensoji Temple, a Buddhist temple in Asakusa. Built in the year 645, it is the oldest temple in Tokyo. Before approaching the temple, one will have to go through the outer gate called Kaminarimon or Thunder Gate. In between the gate and the temple, there is a shopping street of over 200 meters called Nakamize, with a history of several centuries. It leads to the temple's second gate called Hozumon. Ameyoko Market next to the Ueno station has been selling candy since post-war time. Ueno Park, one of the first public parks in the country, is famous for its cherry blossoms, also known as sakura. One of the earliest cherry blossom festival is held at Kawazu from early February to early March annually. It attracts visitors who wish for an early opportunity to view the sakura near Tokyo. Beyond the traditions, cultures, and historic sites lie the bustling city life in modern Tokyo. A populous metropolis, Tokyo has iconic landmarks and one of the tallest towers in the world. This is Akihabara, also known as Electric Town. Numerous electrical appliances and the latest tech gadgets are sold here, even before the Pacific War.
Okay. So that was done by my student. And yeah, and I guess that was a good reason to skip classes for a couple of weeks. Okay, so that was Tokyo. So it's actually quite nice. You can actually share your experiences again with your friends from your travels as well. Now, I added a couple more clips here that were not really about traveling, but I wanted to share that when you do a VR experience, it doesn't have to be limited to overseas activity. It can also be about looking at local Singapore type of locations or even activities. So, for example, this was a project also done by one of my students, and she worked for the Alzheimer's Disease Association. And when COVID came, she used to run what we call the Memories Cafe. And they would have about 20, 30 families coming to these live events. And when COVID came, suddenly she could not do that anymore. So we suggested to her, why don't you actually do it VR live stream to the homes of your community? So we tried it, and for a couple of months, we basically worked with her. We sponsored and helped her to do this. Now she's doing this regularly, not in VR, but in normal video. But this was the time that we did it for 2 months, VR live streaming, and this was just one of the clips from there. So it's not just about, I think, travel. You can also share activities, whether they're music or other types of even exercises, for example. So let's have a look at this. You all can scan this. This is Memories Cafe. And I will show it also on my screen coming up. what I want to share from this particular experience doing this live stream for ADA was that when we first started this project, we were not sure how the people with persons with dementia would respond to actually watching this on the screen. But we nevertheless, we did the test. But after that, we asked for feedback from the families, and we even asked them to shoot some photos to show us. And what was really nice was that we found that, you know, they were obviously watching in different environments. Some of them were watching on mobile phones, tablets. There was one lady, the family set it up on a big 50-inch TV, and the person was sitting on the sofa with the legs, you know, up in the sky, and they were watching it. But there was this lady who was watching on a laptop, and she was clapping and singing. And there were moments where she got so involved with the singer, she was touching the face of the singer on the screen because she felt so nice and so close to that person. So she was sayanging, you know, the person on the screen. So we realized that point that actually, even though we may not have that physical contact, even if you're on the screen, and as long as we are addressing them, we call out their names, we speak to people who are watching the audience, you could still build that connection. And that live streaming and the idea that they could move around a little bit gave them a sense that they were actually immersed in that environment, able to communicate and still connect. So there's something that's also very nice about this technology, that is not really dividing us and pushing us apart, but it is something that really enables us to connect. Another project we did also prior, just before COVID came, we wanted to try this because we knew COVID. This was really early last year. And we realized that I worked on some projects with Loving Heart, SSA, and in the Yuhua area. We have these are the volunteers who come to actually run Qigong classes, sessions in the early mornings. And basically when circuit breaker came, they could not do it anymore. So we tried it out, and we actually did a live stream also of Qigong from downstairs, and then we streamed it out. And then we had people in different homes tune in to try to follow the exercises. And actually that was quite successful. So again, you can really also bring activities like even exercises. So if you are a volunteer or an organizer, you can also do things like that and connect with people. Whether you want it to be recorded or whether you want it to be live, it can also be done. Of course, when you do it in live, you still have the chat functions. People can, send you messages and you can communicate to them as well. But of course, it takes a little bit more organization. But this was actually a nice project, I thought, because also we ran upstairs to see whether they were exercising. It's true enough, there were some homes that were watching it on YouTube and they were following the Qigong exercise. So here's a little bit from that. So you all can scan the code again, and I will bring it on screen as well. Yeah, I'll start from a little bit further. Yeah.
印堂，
So this is the space we were at.
两臂外撑，外展，展成一字，转阴掌，顺势转阳掌，两臂向上合拢，颈上方相合。 从体前下降，降至胸前，成合十手，转指掌向前，向前推出，分掌、立掌分开，推揉。 中
So if you actually imagine if you're wearing the device and you're watching it, you literally feel as if you're standing in front of them. You can look to your left, and you can also try and do the exercises, and you can follow and look around. So you can feel as if you're a real participant in this space. Yeah. Okay. So far I've showed you a lot of video. I'm going to show you one more now. This is actually a trip I took to Chiang Mai and Bangkok. Okay. So if you click it, this is slightly different. It's what we call a photosphere tour. So you can also shoot VR 360 in photographs, and then you can actually stitch them together to tell a story. It can be a journey, you can put highlights at different places. So video you saw just now was pretty much a linear structure. You watch beginning to the end. For photospheres, it can be more of a self-guided tour. You can look around, click for different pieces of information, teleport to different parts of the space, you know. So it's a little bit more of that journey, right? So let me show you this. If you all can scan this, you all can try it on your own devices, but I'm going to walk you through it as well. Okay, you got the scan ready, everybody? Now I will bring you there. Okay, this project, I did it on a system called Google Poly, but this is already, they've discontinued, but there are different softwares available. Now, if you look at what I'm showing you on the screen, okay, this is in Chiang Mai. Okay, this is in the Wan Niman place, is an open plaza. So this is very good for me to show you, to guide you through, for example, a place I went. So it's a very beautiful plaza. It's an old factory area. So you can see they've actually restored it beautifully. It's a nice clock tower. And it almost looks like you're in Europe. And you know Chiang Mai, right? The weather can be very nice and cold. So it's almost like an autumn type of feel. You know, it's like 20, 22, 23 degrees. The space looks like kind of like Europe, doesn't it? So it's actually a very nice space. So what you do is you can go into this space, and so I'll bring you to the next scene. I'm going inside, right? And here you see the atrium, and they have a lot of shops. They've got art pieces. For example, they've got this humongous copper art piece here, right? And I can click and show you like information. This open and of 2017 and all that. So I can put information and make it like a little bit of a guided tour. I always like to bring people down this alley because if you're a foodie, right behind here at the corner, I don't know, can you see my hand when I move it? You can, right? Over this corner, right at the corner here, there's a 1 Michelin star Thai restaurant. So, and it's actually quite affordable. So I've eaten there a couple of times. Very, very nice. And it's all food, basically, and it's a huge food court at the end of this place. But very nice in Chiang Mai. Right, they sell some, it's a cafe, but they sell all the antiques and a lot of nice interior furnishings. Across the road, you have the nice outdoor space. They have an outdoor market here, right? And then let's see. This is Bangkok Siam Mall, Siam Icon Siam in Bangkok already. So I took a boat over to come to this mall. So about 360, you realize that you can't hide, right? So you see, I'm trying to look like a tourist over here, looking away from the camera. When you shoot 360, you kind of like hide from the camera half the time. So here I'm trying to look like a tourist. But for some reason, I seem larger than the average tourist. I think I'm larger than the Thais. So here you have nice waterfall on all the water fountains and all that. This is inside the Bangkok Icon Siam. So they have they recreated the floating markets inside the mall, and you have all the food and handicraft, right? This is at the museum, the Bangkok Museum. So they have a lot of very nice displays there. Here a lot of students were looking at it. Here I'm trying to look like a tourist again. Here is on top of the King Pao Ma Nakhon building, the top of one of the tall buildings in Bangkok, looking down. I'm below it, holding onto the camera with a stick. So that's a view of Bangkok. Very lovely. That's me, my wife, and my friend holding a selfie stick. And then this is the view. Yeah. Okay, so that was my tour of Chiang Mai, Bangkok. So you can do that also with the photosphere. It doesn't have to be video. So there are many ways that you can actually capture spaces and places and travel. Whether you are going to be a person that's going to experience it, share the experience, or a person that's actually going to capture those experiences and share it. There are many ways to do it. There are good collections already on YouTube VR, and you can get a lot of VR 360 content. There are some that are already in the public domain. We capture a lot and we curate ourselves, but we work with different organizations. We have content that we are working as curriculum, whether it is for things like, for example, stress and anxiety management. We also do it for, we work with, for example, Changi General Hospital with the dementia patients as well. So there are content that we create specially for different groups of people as well. All right. Okay, so let me just, before I end, I just wanted to touch on some of the benefits of VR tourism. And I think particularly for the seniors, we're talking about the cognitive versus experiential learning, or the space of that. And really, you know, when we are younger, and the typical way of learning is always through the cognitive frontal lobe, right, where we use the cognitive system. And but as we get older, and you know, and we use less of it, and even if we start to get and when we get some level of issues with when people start going to the dementia, or you know, any type of issues there, it is always because of the weakening of the cognitive system. Now, the idea of VR is that the experience is experienced not just by the cognitive system, but by also the experiential and the emotional system. And therefore, what happens is with VR, when it's immersive and you are in a total environment, you're actually stimulating the different systems. And by using the experiential emotional systems, you are supporting the cognitive system, whether it's about memory recall, whether it's about, you know, just mental, social cognitive stimulation. You're actually using the total brain to actually support your memories and your cognition, right? So that's why we find that VR is the type of experience that is very useful to stimulate the the entire process of not just experience, but also learning and recalling information. Other examples of VR in the space of gerontology, beyond virtual tours and holidays, you can do virtual exercises. There are games that you can play that can actually be fun, but also help your mind. Reminiscence therapy, bringing you not just into spaces that exist today, but perhaps bringing you into spaces that existed before, to help you with your recall. Dementia stimulation. We do it for education as well, care processes or onboarding, introduction to methods, for caregivers, and even healthcare workers. VR is described by some people as an empathy machine. It's able to, because of the immersive nature of the content, it's also able to stimulate emotions, not just something to let you entertain you, but it can also affect your emotion. And it's something, if you are in the space of trying to create education or create certain scenarios to teach, you're an educator, you can actually use the technology to create simulations to try to garner kind of like emotional change and empathy from your audience. I'm doing a project where using VR for distraction, as well as chronic pain management, isolation management as well. Many people who are very lonely. COVID has created that environment, especially for people who are living alone at home. VR can be a means of entertainment. It can also be a means of communication. There are tools that you can go into the space using your avatar I mentioned and meet your friends. So you don't have to meet your friend in the void deck. You can actually meet your friends in a virtual void deck, for example. And of course, as motivation and as a means to just cheer you up, I think through fun entertainment and even possibly just traveling to spaces and perhaps even a reminder of where you have been before. So these are I think the value adds that VR can help in this sector. And whether you are here to just enjoy the content or whether you're here to perhaps find new ways that you can you're a caregiver or you work in this space. I think VR is a tool that you can consider getting involved in, whether it's content that's already in the open space in the public domain, or whether you want to get involved in the process of creating the content. I think all of it will be beneficial to all of us, to the existing seniors and all of us who will become seniors eventually as well. So that's what I have to share. It was a very quick, I think, run through, and we've actually gone around the world, if you noticed, and we've all come back now. So I'm going to pass the floor back to Dean.
Thank you, John, for the really fascinating sharing. And indeed, I was momentarily brought back to Mallorca when I scanned the QR code. Breathtaking. Just a quick questions. We do have quite a few, but I'm just going to sum it down to some of the really very popular ones. Like you mentioned that VR can be shot on phone. Can we use any other phones, or must it be of certain higher standard phones, certain models, to be able to support such function? Okay,
the idea of capturing VR 360 is you would generally need I think somebody needs to put on mute. Hang on. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay. You can use a mobile phone if you have the correct attachments. Now, there are a couple of ways to shoot it. Remember, at the end of the day, you're capturing a 360 image. You can have the right application, and then you basically stand on the spot and you move around in a circle and you capture it. That's the most basic way of doing it. But of course, it's not perfect, okay? You need a special application for that. But you can actually get a VR 360 camera. They don't cost a lot today. The pricing has come down. My students use two cameras in school. We use the Samsung Gear 360. Now that is it's a slightly older camera. It's a good camera. If you want to buy it from like a carousel or online, you can get them for like $150 nowadays. A very good camera that you can still buy in the market is the Xiaomi Mi Sphere. It's a Mi Sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E. That's about $350. It's a very good camera. Also, you can get cameras from Insta360. There's a whole range. So these cameras, you can get anything from between $300 to $600. That's the range. And they will allow you to capture good video, good stills. They give you the software to do the stitching, to do the editing. And that would be the entry point. So mobile phones to capture only if you really don't have any other options. But to get cameras, they are quite affordable. The better things that you saw earlier on, like the Chennai stuff, those were shot on professional VR cameras. I used the Insta360 Pro for the high-end videos, and I used the Alita S2C for my photography. Those are 12 megapixel cameras. So in VR, it's not like normal photography. Normal photography or videography, you can change lenses, zoom lenses, and things like that. But when you do VR, you don't have the benefit of doing that. So what you end up having is different cameras for different types of shots and environments. So we have a whole selection of different cameras we use in different environments.
Thanks, Jonathan. And for all these VR videos, we can easily just Google online and look for free resources, right?
There are some good free resources. Our content we have not put up for free yet because we have ours curated and we put them in a certain curriculum for certain needs. But if you want things in the public domain, you can go to YouTube under YouTube VR. And if you search for VR content, there's already quite a lot of free content available there. What we do realize is that when we work with different groups of people and different homes and different hospitals, what's going to be very crucial is finding the right content for the right people. So you need to, when you want to share, let's say you're a caregiver and you want to share certain VR content with the person you are caring for, a care recipient, it'll be easier for you because you would know the likes and dislikes and the background of the care recipient. So then you'll try to find things that are relevant, you know. I can share the story of, we went to a daycare center and three gentlemen.
We're going to share the story another day.
Oh,
give me time to ask you the most important question.
Okay, go ahead.
Everyone has been asking, and I will hold it back.
Yes.
How can anybody who's interested learn from you, or from, is there any courses out there to learn how to do all the VR photography and to be able to apply it into their day-to-day life?
Okay, actually, I do teach a class at SUSS. There is a class called MTD 365 VR filmmaking. So we do. That's where I teach the student who made the song and the student who made the Tokyo piece. That were projects from that class. So we do teach that. I think the class, I'm not sure, but I think the course might be available on as a CET program. So you can actually take it up there. Anyway, if it isn't and you are interested, do put it on a feedback form that you will be getting at the end of this session. And I do intend to be running some classes for the public as well, especially, I do already teach part of a VR course with gerontology at SUSS on how to use VR for dementia patients and things like that. So if you're really interested in this space, we can always put something together. I think there's been a lot of interest, and then we'll get back to you and yeah, we'll arrange something for you to join us for.
Great. Thank you so much, John. Time flies when we're all enjoying ourselves, isn't it? So before I hand over the time in preparation for our next segment, just to share, for more information, John shared that if you guys want to learn more about VR, it's actually part of the module in our SUSS gerontology program. So with more information regarding our gerontology program, please feel free to visit our website or our Facebook page. You can see it on the screen here to find out more. And you'll find that besides VR, there will be a lot of other relevant topics with regards to gerontology for our seniors and all too. With that, thank you very much for your time. And let me hand it over to Mastura to share some additional resources for all of you. Don't go yet. Mastura, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dean. And thank you, Jonathan, as well, for a very engaging session this afternoon. I really enjoyed going to all the different places involved. Okay, so I'll continue on. So we have the NLB mobile app. So if you'd like to download the mobile application, so it's available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. For more information, you can also scan the QR code or visit our mobile app.nlb.gov.sg website. And we've already changed some of the user interface as well. So one tap on our NLB mobile app, and you can read all of these resources that we have. with the e-newspapers, the e-magazines, as e-newspapers, whether you want to learn new skills digitally, you can even find programs and events or search for a title in our NLB mobile app. So for today's reading recommendations, so these are the 4 books that I would like to recommend for you guys to read through, I suppose. Yep. You can take a screenshot as well if you'd like to. And we have also prepared a resource list for this afternoon, so this event, this symposium as well. So if you'd like to get through the resource list, just scan the QR code on the screen over here. It's in PDF format, or you can go to go.gov.sg/EnvisAGE resource list. It will be available on the chat box as well. Yeah. I would like to also hear from you for feedback. Again, just scan the QR code to access the feedback form. Or you can go to go.gov.sg/EnvisAGE 2021 survey. And if you have any inquiries, please send them to 50plus@nlb.gov.sg. And if you'd like to be part of our mailing list, the Time of Your Life mailing list, to receive updates about upcoming events and programs and recommended reads, again, just scan the QR code on the screen. Or you go to go.gov.sg/50plus-mail. Next up, final session of the day, motivation for entrepreneurship and active aging. We have speakers for you as well. So it's also live on Facebook, our Facebook page, Public Libraries Singapore. If you go to Facebook, if you're not registered for the program and you like to watch this particular talk, you can go to our Public Libraries Singapore website and view it online as well. So with that, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this afternoon session. I hope you enjoyed Jonathan's sharing today. And thank you so much for just being here with us as well for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.